So here is part two of our debate between me and Jeffrey Phillips regarding Elon Musk. He is asserting that Elon Musk is a fraud. He based his original video on the idea that, his interpretation of Elon's words about the challenges that he was having in the air conditioning system of the 2008 prototype of the Tesla Roadster. I made a rebuttal to that. Basically, I think he misinterpreted Elon's words. He saw it as a mechanical issue, a mechanical challenge, whereas I saw it as a problem with the efficiency in the electrical system. So anyway, if you could go back to my video, if you missed that, I explained that part of the thing. Here is Jeffrey's rebuttal to my rebuttal. I'm going to play it here in its entirety, and then I'm going to come back with some more. So enjoy.
Hey friends, how's it going? So I forgot I was supposed to make a response video to Larry Smart's video. That was a response video to my video. My video was about an interview with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, where the rocket scientist, Elon Musk, used an example of a very difficult task. And this task was putting an electric AC compressor in an electric car. Talked about, he said it was so hard to design that first car, and this was the chief example he used. And I was simply pointing out, for a rocket scientist, that's really not a hard feat. I'm a mechanic, a career mechanic, and I know how to fabricate, and hooking a electric motor to a electric compressor, or hooking an electric motor to an AC compressor is not that hard to do. All you need is a coupler between the two output shafts, and they're connected. So Larry's video, he basically said that that's not what Elon said, or that's not what he meant. He actually meant that the parasitic drain put on the electric system of the car was too high, and it was pulling down the range or something, about how having a electric AC air climate control system was some sort of drain, and there was lots of R&D involved with figuring that out. So my response is, in 1996 there was the EV1. Chevy or GM or something put it out because California was requiring them to make a certain amount of clean air vehicles if they wanted to sell cars in California. So when car companies, or we're seeing that when car companies are mandated to build cars, clean air cars, these cars end up being really ugly because these car companies don't want them to sell. They don't want them to be popular, because these car companies also own big oil, and they want internal combustion engines and stuff like that around to, because they make money twice. They sell you a car and then they sell you the fuel. Anyway, so 1996, the EV1 came out, fully electric vehicle, range of 200 miles, climate control system, all the bells and whistles. Was a pretty successful car until the car GM bought back all of them and sent them all to the wrecker. So the technology was there. Priuses had been out for several years, and they have a very small AC compressor that is electric, that puts hardly any parasitic drain on the electric system. So we know Elon Musk, he likes reverse engineering things. He had no problem. I'm sorry, dude. He had no problem putting a super efficient small AC compressor in that vehicle. There was no, oh shit, the AC compressor's draining the battery so much that it's hurting the range. Those batteries are huge. This is the problem. There's a reason why every car company doesn't have fully electric cars and hasn't for a long time. There's a lot of major flaws with the design of electric vehicles, with the batteries that we have, and we're really not going to get better batteries, people. You need to face this. We're pretty much at the peak of technology for battery technology, and if there are any better batteries out there, you know, Exxon and freaking whoever the hell owns those patents isn't ever going to release them to us. They're never going to do it. So we're at the Tesla is basically the pinnacle of electric vehicle technology, but it still has major flaws. One is range. With a gas car, you have a gas tank that empties over time and becomes very light. So, you know, from the second you start using that fuel, the car is getting more efficient as time goes on, because the fuel is actually vaporizing out of it, and so it's weighing less. You don't have that with electric cars. You have a giant battery that's always a giant battery that's always dragging the vehicle down at all times, and so you have a much less potential for range with these heavy vehicles. This is always going to be a problem with electric cars. They're not going to come up with better batteries. It's not going to happen. It's sci-fi, people. So anyway, so basically what Elon is and then you have to recharge them, and that takes a lot of time. So those two things right there make basically any electric vehicle not as good as a internal combustion gas engine. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh, you're being a fucking shill for big oil, but I'm not being a shill for big oil. I'm being a shill for freaking science and common sense. These electric cars aren't green. They're full of crazy metals and shit that fucking have to be mined by brown children over a different country. They're awful, nasty, not green, not efficient. They're just gimmicks. Elon Musk is selling junk technology. It's technology we've known and had for years. He just put a fancy shell on it to give him credibility as some sort of freaking super scientist, cerebral, guy, but he's really not. He's really average of average intelligence, and everybody puts him up on some pedestal like he's some freaking god. Anyway, so it's not the AC compressor's fault, Larry, that the Teslas aren't working out well. It's Elon wanting a 10-second car, a big, heavy, luxury 10-second car, with an inefficiently designed propulsion system, basically. So, and the funny part is also, I was around when Tesla made the Roadster. Like, I was a biofuel technician then, and there was no Elon Musk back then. It was two other dudes doing it. I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but I went and saw the thing and spoke to the dudes at the LA Green Car Convention at the freaking where was it? Down in the Santa Monica airport in 2000. I don't even remember. 2009 maybe. I went and looked at every inch of the Tesla Roadster, and I talked to the two dudes who freaking designed it, and there was no Elon Musk in sight. So it's kind of funny that all these companies that Elon Musk has owned or has been involved with are turning out to just be legacy buys he made, where he didn't even have anything to do with it in the beginning, and he just came along, bought the technology, and claimed that he fucking invented it. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.
have it. So I'm going to go ahead and start in on this. So first, I'm going to start with the EV1. That's basically the first rebuttal he has to the air conditioning thing. And so the EV1, he said, had a range of 200 miles and had a climate control system. I'm going to challenge that right now and go back here and look at the EV1. Jeffrey is correct about one thing. These cars are ugly, and that is probably intentional. Not necessarily for the reasons that the car companies also own oil companies or invested in oil companies. They probably do have some investments. I'm sure the auto workers unions probably invest pensions. A lot of the pension funds go into the oil stocks. But I think the primary reason is that these legacy auto manufacturers have heavy capital investments in engine production. They have massive internal combustion engine factories with thousands of employees. Also, big factories that build transmissions, also with thousands of employees. And these are all union workers, United Auto Workers. And they are not going to go down without a fight. They're going to fight to keep the status quo. They need that money coming in from the workers' paychecks. And they're not going to tolerate something that basically makes them obsolete. So when they produce this vehicle, this electric car, they want to make sure that the sale of this car is not parasitic to the sale of the ICE cars. That basically is their bread and butter. The other reason is these cars were not profitable. Unlike their other internal combustion engine cars, which are very profitable. Not necessarily in profitability in the sales of the cars. There are some margins there usually, not always, but the auto manufacturers basically get most of their income coming in from repair parts and service, and that's what they need. They need you coming back for those oil changes and those belt changes and all the fluid changes. They need you coming in for tires and brakes and everything else. That's where they make most of their money. They do make some on auto sales, but really the auto sales are just seed money that basically brings in a lifelong customer into their service department where the real money is made. All right, so now let's look at the stats or the specs for the EV1. The EV1 was manufactured between 1996 and 1999. During that 3-year period, they sold 1,117 cars total. They only sold them in California. They were actually, the only reason they even produced this car was, as Jeffrey pointed out, was so that they could legally sell cars in California, because California had passed a law that said in order to sell cars in the state of California, you have to produce a certain number of zero-emission vehicles. And that's what they're trying to meet that requirement so they can continue to sell their ICE cars in California. That's the only reason they produced this. They didn't produce it to make it good. They didn't produce it to make it actually even popular or desirable. They just produced it to meet the minimum requirements needed in order to legally sell cars in the state of California. And this is the only place, I believe, that they even sold the EV1. During that 3-year period, the 1996, 1997, and 1998 models were the Generation 1. Those used a traditional lead-acid battery, nothing special. Same lead-acid battery that you use for your 12-volt battery that goes in your car right now. That's used to start your car and run your systems when the engine's off. The 1999 model year was their Generation 2, where they had switched over to nickel metal hydride batteries. Lithium-ion batteries were not available yet at that time. The range was not very good. Generation 1 range was 89 kilometers or 55 miles. It wasn't 200 miles, as Jeffrey asserted. The Generation 2, the nickel metal hydride batteries, had a 105 or a 169 kilometer or 105 mile range. Again, that's on flat ground. When they test these, they don't test them in regular everyday operating conditions. So The EPA ratings on those were a little bit better. The lead acid battery was 126 kilometers or 78 miles, and the nickel metal hydride came in at 228 kilometers or 142 miles. So even the Gen 2 was very short of that 200-mile claim. Charging was a 6.6 kilowatt charger, so it was very slow. And so neither one of these really had any kind of range that comes close to a Tesla. Now, they did have the climate controls, and those did greatly reduce the range. The nickel metal hydride batteries, basically, they needed cooling. They would run hot, and so they had an air conditioner. Now, I do not know if it was a separate air conditioner for the batteries or if it just diverted air from the regular air conditioner to cool the batteries. But either way, the nickel metal hydride batteries didn't get the efficiency that they were hoping for because they had to run an AC compressor to keep those batteries cool, and that greatly reduced the amount of range that they were hoping to get out of them. So moving on to the claim that there's been no advancements in batteries, that we're basically at the pinnacle of battery technology. That is completely not true. If you tuned into Tesla's Battery Day presentation, which just happened a couple months ago, you see that there was actually huge advancements made in battery technology last year. Now, when they first started out with building these Teslas, they were basically using just the regular lithium ion, the 18650 or 18650 batteries, which is just basically the same batteries you find in your laptops and throughout. It's a very common form factor for lithium ion battery. They started out with those in the Tesla Model S. They quickly moved on to the larger 2170, so 21 millimeter diameter, 70 millimeter length. So a little bit larger cylinder, and they got an improvement in that. Now, about as far as the materials in the lithium-ion batteries, there is lithium, which is not a problem getting lithium. It's very abundant throughout all over the earth. There's lithium mines all over the world, some better than others. We'll get back to that in a minute. Cobalt, that's the nasty one. That's the one where, yes, there are some horrible cobalt mines in the world that use child labor to get cobalt from. And lithium-ion batteries generally have a little bit of cobalt in them. Back at that Battery Day event, Tesla announced that they are reducing the amount of cobalt in the batteries, and they also have a cobalt-free battery. They have actually four or five different battery chemistries that they're working with. They have the lithium polymer battery. They have the lithium iron phosphate battery. Lithium iron phosphate battery they're doing in the Model 3 China models, the made in China Model 3s. It's a little bit cheaper, and it's a little bit less range, but because of the reduced cost, they're able to offer that at a better price, and the range isn't that big of a deal, but that's an option. But the big announcement was the much larger battery, which was, I believe, I can't never remember, 47. It's a much larger. It's about the size of a Coke can, but a little shorter. And that battery cell is bringing down the cost by over 56%, and energy density is I can't remember. I want to say it's doubling or something like that. But anyway, it's a much higher energy density at a much lower cost. So they can go with making a smaller battery pack, which they're probably not going to do because that battery pack is now part of the structure of the car. So going with the same size battery, you can get a much larger range. They're going to probably exceed 500-600 miles, just like they have on the Roadster. And charging is going to be really quick because of the tabless electrode. They'll be able to charge without heating the battery. And so they're actually, right now, they got 250 kilowatt chargers. There were 350 kilowatt chargers. And now for the Tesla Semi that's coming out, they're going to start, they're actually testing the mega chargers, which are rumored to be at 1.6 megawatts of charging capacity. So you'll be able to charge a Tesla semi to 0 to 500 mile range in 30 minutes. So there are huge advancements in battery technology, and we haven't even got into solid state batteries yet, but the cobalt is no longer an issue. Another thing that Tesla is doing great is vertically integrating. So now Tesla is mining their own lithium, so they're not buying from these mines elsewhere in the world, greatly reducing their cost, and they're mining the lithium right in Nevada, right next to the battery factory in Reno, or outside of Reno, Sparks area. But and the lithium's abundant. It's one of the third or fourth most abundant element in the earth. It's all over, and they have a process for mining lithium using nothing but salt water that's good for the environment and leaves no emissions. And after the land is mined, it's put back, and we're told that it will not. You won't even know that lithium was mined from it. So they also say that from their land holdings in Nevada, where they will be mining, just from the one mine in Nevada alone, they should be able to supply all of Tesla vehicles for the entire world. So really exciting. Lots of advancements in battery technology, and there's more coming out every day. We are not at the pinnacle of battery technology. We're nowhere close to it. So again, I'm not sure where you're coming up with that idea, Jeffrey, but it is definitely not the case. Just in the, from 1996, the first electric car, the EV1, we went from our traditional lead acid batteries that have been used for over 100 years to nickel metal hydride and to lithium ion, and we've seen a huge evolution in those lithium ions just in the last couple of years alone. So there is a lot of advancements and a lot going on. However, you are correct about the fact that the battery mass does not change as the battery becomes depleted. Unlike gasoline or a diesel car, where as you pull fuel out of the tank and burn it, the car gets lighter. And as it gets lighter, it becomes more efficient. That is true. So running your tank less than full, you get better gas mileage than if you fill your tank up all the way and go that way. But that is definitely an advantage that the gasoline engines have over the battery electric vehicles. However, with the increase in energy density getting better and better every day, that disadvantage will become negligible over time. And I think it's already negligible, but it'll just become more negligible as the efficiency improves. So anyway, that concludes this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave any comments below. Anything I said was inaccurate, or if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks, and I appreciate if you made it this far. Thank you.